Hardest thing, probably just getting the place to be from what it was to an actual functional space.
Okay.
Not even a livable space, but just a functional space where I could start to actually just make money out of it and do my work. And so it entailed the roof, the electrical, all of the plumbing, um, windows. Pretty much every window in the place has been replaced. A lot of masonry, a lot of tuck pointing, just everything you'd expect in an old, neglected building.
Mm-hmm.
It had pretty minimal maintenance the past 40, 50 years.
So the change over time as far as like the different functions that this building has been able to be used for, it kind of went from being first built really well used with, it was like the dings,
Yeah, the
right?
making
Right.
factory.
And then it just kind of switched, and then it was kind of not, it wasn't really well taken care of. Then you came in and like restored everything.
Right, right.
Do you know, I mean, are there any like permanent neighbors around here that have seen it go from what it was before to what you've done to it?
There are. Um, the gentleman across the alley, his name is Mike too, and he's one of the neighbors who has been here a long time and didn't really talk to anybody for many years until he saw what was going on here, and then he saw even once we started here, it just seemed to kind of leapfrog a little bit around the neighborhood. A couple properties across the alley had pretty full renovations then, and it's just the feel of the neighborhood has changed pretty drastically once this place has been fixed up. It's definitely caught on with other people around.
God, that's awesome. And so then for the future, do you think that renovating this place is like you said, it leapfrogged and like other places started to get renovated? Do you think that's going to happen more often, and or like are you planning on staying here for a while, or like how do you see this space in this neighborhood like in the future?
I'll probably die here. I don't want to ever leave this place. It's done the way I want it to be, and very comfortable here. The neighborhood is, um, it's a changing neighborhood. It was a pretty gritty neighborhood 15, 20 years ago, and now it's really transitioned to a very young, urban, fun, but still not uh, like a lot of big cities like Portland or even Minneapolis is happening now, where the younger crowd's coming in and the values are just going up and up and up.
Mm-hmm.
Bayview is still very affordable, and that's one of the big draws, I believe, to what we have going on here. And even that, I think that stays our number too, as well as things keep happening. If the economy hangs on, if everything in our world kind of hangs on, which we all hope so, then there's big things going on around here. There's a lot of development going on. There's a lot of new buildings going up. Have you been up Kinnikinnick, just walking at
A
all?
little bit, yeah.
Okay. There's just a lot of recent developments too, as far as a couple vacant lots that are now sold, and we'll have some big new developments. Did you happen to notice the building is called the King Building? It's between the firehouse and the library is a building that's under renovation right now. It was formerly a car dealership, and it's now being converted to businesses and apartments. I've recently met the developer who's doing that, and he's also bought the lot across the street that's been empty for some time after an apartment building had burned down many years ago. It's just been an empty lot. Um, Spending some really, really strong money in this neighborhood, and so I'm glad to see it.
Yeah, we'll have to go check that
But
out.
on the other hand, I hope it doesn't lead to it being where the people who really want to be here are priced out of their own neighborhood. And so
Yeah.
it's happening in a lot of cities, and I hate to use the word gentrification because it's not what's happening around here. And so I hope we can kind of hang on to it.
Mm-hmm. And kind of back to the building as far
Sure.
as like the different seasons in here. Like I know you have this fireplace right now because it's a little cold for spring.
Right. Yeah.
But as far as like between like the winter and the summer and like the insulation of the building and everything, is it a huge interior difference or like even leaks or anything? Like how does the building handle itself throughout the seasons?
It's really pretty good in the wintertime to heat it. I do try to keep this thing going just for budgetary reasons. I'd rather do a little work, get a little exercise, and scrounge scrap wood and pallet wood, and save many, many hundreds of dollars per month on a gas bill. And so um, summer times we need to do some work yet on the residence because we've got a black roof over all this, and as the sun breaks on, it just kind of radiates down.
Mm-hmm.
If we have a 90 plus degree day outside, it's 90 plus degrees inside the place. And we do eventually want to air condition, but we also want to try just a green roof. First, we have a contact with MMSD who's going to be helping us to hopefully apply for a grant, and if we make it somewhat publicly accessible for people to come see and once again just to see what they can do for themselves, and we can hopefully have it covered at a pretty substantial or pretty minimal cost to us. So
Do you think
that's one of our things we have in the plans.
Do you think the gallery nights would help sort of meet that requirement of like showing it off to the public, or do you think
Possibly if we could get them up there, but we wouldn't probably tie the two together. It's enough just to put the gallery night on and keep everything
I'm
flowing
sure.
with that. So we're still kind of new to doing it, and it went well last year, and we don't want to get things too complicated. I like to try and keep things simple.
And before you mentioned that, basically, do you have any like social media sites, or is it really just like word of mouth for your business?
It really is pretty much word of mouth. I haven't set up a Facebook page. I do stuff on Instagram. I'll post things on Instagram under the Magnet Factory hashtag sometimes, but really it's not too much. It's more, I'm just starting to just kind of use social media as a bit more of a tool to promote what I do.
And then you said you've been here for a while, so the change in like the area over time, did it used to be pretty like dilapidated with
Yeah.
a lot of crime, and now is that like whole thing getting better, or was there never really any crime, or is like I guess like how is kind of like the threats versus the restorations going on in here? Is that having any impact with anything?
I'd like to say yes, but it's still a pretty urban neighborhood. We still definitely have issues around here. We've had stabbings, shootings, robberies, you name it. It is the big city still, and things do happen. And I'd like to think it's minimalized a bit, but there's just still a lot of petty crime. You're young people, you know that a lot of cities like ours have a bad heroin problem, and it's not we're not immune to that around here by any means. And so we do have a lot of little petty things that you can kind of trace back to desperate people doing stupid things just to do what they need to do. And so if we can get that to go away, that'd be a good thing. But that's one of the nagging things about life in the city. So
Yeah. So you think it's more of just like a city like urban life versus like the physical, you know, what am I trying to say?
the urban suburban difference.
Yeah, like the urban suburban difference, and even just like even though like things are getting restored and people are updating a little bit and having all of that, like that's still not having that much of an impact on.
Oh, it is having an impact, but I just don't think we haven't crossed any bridges yet to say that we're, a low crime neighborhood by any means. So,
But
but
like
we all
slowly.
live that way. We understand that you don't leave anything outside that you don't want the junk band to take away, or that you want somebody to walk off with. And
Yeah.
you lock your car doors, and you hope that it's there in the morning. And so, we do have a lot of car thefts around here. It's one of the big things. Yeah, it's I have a couple friends that have had cars stolen just in the past year in the neighborhood. So.
So kind of just like a slowly but surely
Yeah,
kind of thing.
we deal with it just because it's.
But it's nothing that makes you want to like move.
Absolutely not. No, I wouldn't leave just because nobody's gonna scare me out of my neighborhood.
Yeah.
And I rarely have people that are afraid to come here. It is an occasional thing where you'll have somebody who's, say, from the suburbs or just doesn't know the city, and you tell them they're towards the middle of town and they're a little uncomfortable. You have to ease their fears sometimes a little bit. Say no, you'll be fine. Just,
But do you think, as you're saying, like people from the suburbs are a little bit more like iffy about this neighborhood, do you think that affects the people here as far as like the people that actually do end up moving here? Like
I don't think it affects it much. No, the people who want to be here understand it, and they know going in that it's an urban area. We're close to the center of town and close to a lot of the old housing stock that rents for cheap, and it's just anytime you're amongst people that are just in situations, it's just you're just closer to people in bad situations when you're in town. I guess it comes down to that. I guess it's the easiest way to put it, and be diplomatic and polite and politically correct, I guess. So there's a lot of it happens anywhere, but it just anytime you have a concentration of people, it's just going to be more so. Suburbs have problems too. Everybody's area has some issue with somebody, and so we just have more people to cram into one space and more people that are going to make it more prevalent. So That's my take.
Well, do you guys have any other questions? Because that's all we had prepared.
Well, just like not the site specifically, but the neighborhood in general. What do you think some of the strengths and weaknesses are of just the area overall? Like,
Strengths, I would say, just the sense of community that everybody has. Everybody is really wants to be a part of Bay View. There's a lot of people that have been here a long time. I guess Facebook has kind of helped too as far as connecting people that have, once again, either have been here or just want to have more of a say in their neighborhood. Today's election day, and we have a really strong, uh, strong campaign for both of our aldermanic candidates, and so it's kind of an exciting time to be in the neighborhood, just because it's everybody just the people that are here just want to be here. They know that they can count on their neighbor to be somebody who's going to be someone that they're going to get along with, and that's I guess that's probably one of the bigger draws is just the people that are here just really want to be here. We have all walks of life, all socioeconomic types, and it's just it makes it a fun neighborhood. I guess even my clientele that kind of goes from just the professionals that are ultra professionals, I guess you could even say, to just, uh, just the everyman and every woman. So that's what we have in our neighborhood, and we all just get along.
Seems like this place is a really strong gathering place. Are there any other places around here, like during the summer, that everyone kind of comes together? Like we noticed a park a few blocks back with a great amount of people.
Oh, sure. The little park in the Triangle.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that we have a lot of. Once again, there's art in the park events there every other weekend. There's another large park. We have Humboldt Park just to the south of us, but that's probably it's a big county park, of course.
yeah, don't we have another group working on Humboldt Park?
Yeah, there's
Yeah.
another group that's
Right.
doing Humboldt.
Yeah, really nice park where everybody seems to gather and walk and take the kids to play. South Shore Park, we have that. We have even just down. We have a lot of just more and more these days. It's like pop-up art events more than anything. We have the Makers Market in the Collectivo parking lot down where KK Lincoln and Howell all come together. There's a parking lot just south where they every other Saturday and Sunday they do a big local makers sale. So a lot of events like that. I don't know if any of you heard of the South Shore Water Frolic. That's kind of a long time neighborhood, more of a neighborhood party than anything. It happens at South Shore Park, and it's been an off and on thing the past couple of years just because of funding. They had a large sponsor who bailed a couple of years ago, but it's 3 days of fun and fireworks and rides and entertainment and just very much neighborhood oriented and very, I guess you could almost say, old fashioned. One of the things that we've tried to hang on to, one of our traditions around here.
Yeah, we definitely noticed that a lot of renovations going on, but the buildings are still maintaining the original character, which is something really nice.
Right. There's still a mix of new that's coming in. You probably saw the big dwell development.
The big
on the
green
corner
and
here.
white building. That's why we turned the corner and found this place, actually.
Yeah, this is kind of the anti to that. There was a lot of controversy in the neighborhood when that went up. And now that it's happening more and more, I guess the controversy is happening less and less. There are people that want to make sure we don't lose everything, because there's going to be a lot of places like that go up at the cost of old buildings. Where that went up, there was a half a dozen houses and businesses that were torn down, and all in pretty good shape and all with a lot of character. There were really none of the buildings that were in terrible shape or lacking, even just lacking architectural interest. There were some really neat row houses that came down and things that just aren't going to be there anymore. And so we can't lose all that, and we have to be careful.
Mm-hmm.
It's one of the reasons our election today is so important, because our alderman is head of the licensing committee, and he's kind of he's changed a lot. He's been in office for 20 years, had the same job, and he's just really much gone with the developers and taken a lot of campaign money from the new developers, and he doesn't have the neighborhood's best interests at mind anymore, and so we're hoping for some change there, because we fully expect things to happen and development to happen, but it has to be sensitive as well.
So do you expect that to be more of like a governmental issue, or do you think that like the community itself and like the owners of the houses and like everybody within the community is that, I guess, who do you think has more of like the responsibility of like trying to keep
as long as people stay vocal about things, then we still have a say. But when it comes down to it, it seems like City Hall is always the one that wins in the end. And so all we can do is raise our voices and try and find, even with the building across the way, we found some compromise on some of the materials that we're going to use on the outside. It looks bad now, and it would have looked a lot worse without a lot of neighborhood input. So had a lot of white vinyl siding changed to some of the darker gray, slate type looking material. And so it wasn't a big win, but it was something. And so we just have to keep that kind of thing from happening too much, and we can all cooperate and get along and have a good, vibrant neighborhood. And development can still happen, and people can still move in. And it's good to bring more people into a neighborhood. It's gonna help our local businesses. It's gonna help the tax base. It's gonna just help build everything up. If people want to be here and bring more people in, then it can't be a bad thing. So it has to be done carefully.
I was kind of wondering if you still had time, if we could do a walkthrough, because I'm just kind of looking around and there's some
Sure, you haven't
details
been
that I'm
here,
really
of course, yeah.
right.
It's,
Even that painting over there really caught my eye.
it's been hanging around since the last gallery night. He's kind of creepy. It's Aleister Crowley. He's a man who lived in the late 1800s in England and supposedly self-possessed himself with the devil.
Interesting.
I've definitely heard about that.
Rumor has it that his mansion still exists. It's of course rumored to be haunted, and it's said that people have been dared to stay the night, and it's not a common thing for people to actually make it through. So, Aleister Crowley.
Just on a side note, going back to like your background, I don't know if we covered it last time, but what got you into the restoration practice? I guess how did you first start with that?
Being a poor kid, I guess. Just if I wanted something nice, I had to do it myself. I had to fix it up myself. I started fixing cars when I was a teenager. Before I even had a license, I was fixing my own car with my paper route money, and so I guess that's where it started. And then I met some friends, and more like relatives of friends who were already doing this kind of work that I'm doing going back into the 80s when I first started doing this kind of stuff. And so I started as a teenager, and I went to Milwaukee Tech High School, so I learned some skills there, and just always tried to kind of do things for myself. Always had an eye for if it was cast off and could still be made use of or turned into something else. I've always kind of tried to do that.
But mostly
It started out as just pure economics, I guess. If I wanted something nice, I had to do it myself. So.